Oob's new Majin form just sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy, as throughout all other locations where battles are currently happening and even on Earth, the Z fighters are stunned at what they're feeling. A few seconds ago, he stood no chance against the 6-star Shadow Dragon, but after awakening his inner negative energy, he possesses a similar key to them now, giving him the ability to finally damage this guy. Over on the planet of the Kais, although 2 dragons have been defeated, things are only getting more intense as Elder Kai watches Oob, panicking over what may be happening with him. He's been completely taken over by evil, Elder Kai declares, looking into his crystal ball. Is it evil Ki? What the hell does this mean? How should I explain this? After being taken in by the negative energy of the Shadow Dragon from that last attack, the key of a Majin that was dormant within Oob was released. Now, Oob has completely lost the spirit of justice and become a Majin again. Now, unless he reclaims his old spirit somehow, Oob may end up turning violent like that of the Shadow Dragons. If the transformation is drawn out for too long, he'll completely lose the spirit of justice and might not be able to return to his original form. Another troublesome incident, he ends, as back on planet Mujin, Oob's negative energy is reaching a tipping point, growing larger and larger, with steam even coming out of his head just like when he used to be purely a Majin. The Shadow Dragon is kinda just shitting bricks right now, with Oob's negative energy rivaling their own, as Oob leaps at him and finally is able to land a powerful punch, attacking with negative energy instead of his positive energy. Oob sends the Shadow Dragon flying across the battlefield, leaving a giant drag mark in the ground from sliding across the wasteland. Before he's able to get back up, Oob lands right behind him and extends his arm, shooting a massive blast at point-blank range. I've never seen Oob release this much power before, as his attack engulfs the entire battlefield, leveling the wasteland for miles out. However, the Shadow Dragon narrowly escaped the attack and flies into the air above the battlefield. He's barely hanging on at this point, as he comments on how terrifying Oob's power and speed have gotten. If it comes to this, I have to use my most powerful attack. The dragon raises his hand above him in the air, clasping them together and concentrating an absurd amount of negative energy in his hands into a giant death ball overhead. He launches it down at the ground at Oob, who hasn't moved a muscle even in the face of this overwhelming attack barreling towards him. He charges up and readies his own attack, gathering his own negative energy in the palm of his hands, and fires off an even more massive beam up into the air, straight into the sky. The two attacks clash with one another, creating an enormous struggle between the two, but it quickly becomes clear that the dragon is on the losing end of this. The both of them are outputting ridiculous amounts of negative energy, but Oob's overwhelming power begins pushing back the death ball. In one more push, Oob completely obliterates the 6-star Shadow Dragon, singeing the rest of his body and turning him into nothingness. However, even though this ended up being a battle of negative energy versus negative energy, the Dragon Ball drops to the ground, completely purified. As for Oob, he's still completely overtaken by evil, as his Majin side refuses to subside. This isn't good, Elder Kai says. As I thought, it seems he can't go back to his original form by himself. We have to do something, or there's no telling what Oob will do. This is when he realizes something that might actually work. It's a long shot, but they need to do something. He reaches out to Kibito Kai via telepathy, who's over on Earth searching for the last 2 Shadow Dragons. There's something I urgently need you to bring, he says. We don't get to necessarily hear what he says to Kibito Kai, but I'm sure he's giving him the entire rundown on what's happening with Oob. Back on planet Mujin, Oob is still pretty much in a feral state as he fights internally to gain back control of his own mind. He struggles to calm down and revert back to normal, as memories of his past that accelerated his rage are pushed to the forefront of his mind. This is when Kibito Kai shows up with a bottle of the ultra divine water and splashes Oob in the face with it. This is what the Elder Kai's plan was, to combat the negative energy surging within Oob. He begins to slowly gain back his senses and finally snaps back to normal, suppressing the negative energy once more. Fortunately, Oob was able to defeat the dragon and revert to normal without causing another disaster, so for now, things seem to have worked out just fine as the two final battles go underway. Over in the Dark Demon Realm, Vegeta is first as his opponent, a very well-drawn dragon, appears as she steps over a cliffside, asking Vegeta just where this place is. Vegeta, unfazed, barks back saying that it doesn't matter where they are, she's gonna die now. "Let me ask you before I kill you though," he says. "When the hell were you born from the negative energy?" The dragon replies saying that she was born from the negative energy when the wish to remove the bombs inside the bodies of androids 17 and 18 were granted. "I see," Vegeta replies. "Very well, I'll finish you off in no time, small fry." She comments on his attitude and needs to be disciplined, but unfortunately for her, Vegeta has been itching for this moment ever since his training ended, saying that he won't be showing any mercy even to a woman. He begins powering up and transforms into a Super Saiyan 2 as he gets ready to kick this off, telling her to be prepared to die. He charges at her and honestly stuns her with his impressive speed and appears in front of her as she's barely able to block the first attack. As for the second punch, Vegeta lands a direct hit, being completely serious about not going easy on her. Then, he delivers another punch to her stomach and finally sends her flying into the air with a kick. She stops herself mid-flight and then starts coughing up what looks to be some type of thread or webbing in her hand into a ball around her fist. Vegeta looks almost as lost as I am as the dragon tells him don't get too carried away. She attacks him with her reinforced fist, throwing a punch that packs a lot more power than Vegeta expected, probably due to the reinforcement of whatever that webbing was that she used, and even though Vegeta blocks it, he's sent flying by her insane strength. Vegeta is able to stop himself short, but the insane power behind that punch can't be understated. The dragon isn't too happy with that last engagement either, the way Vegeta just viciously attacks her even though she's a lady, saying that she won't forgive him and that she's gonna kill him this time. She shoots more threading from her mouth, this time straight at Vegeta, who leaps higher into the sky and dodges them. He appears some ways behind her and turns around, trying to shoot him again, but Vegeta easily dodges all her attacks. This time, he appears right behind her, showing off more impressive speed, the ability to manipulate special thread. And it seems that in terms of punching force, it can harden enough to rival Steel, Vegeta says, showing off some impressive observational skills. "It would be troublesome if I got caught, but you can't catch me with that degree of speed." "You're incredibly confident," she says to Vegeta, "but I wonder if you can really evade my thread." She tries again, charging at Vegeta, swinging again with her threaded fist, but is far too slow for Vegeta. He appears behind her again, but she's able to avoid his kick by flipping away this time. She tries to shoot him with her threads again, but once again, Vegeta is far too fast and disappears once more before getting behind her again and punching her, then throwing another punch in the stomach that stuns her and sends her flying across the demon realm. She crashes into the ground as Vegeta descends down ahead of where she landed. She gets up slowly out of the rubble as Vegeta is pretty much just toying with her at this point, saying why not just surrender now and hand over the Dragon Ball. "You know, continuing this further is a waste of time," he goes on. However, she just bursts out laughing to Vegeta's shock. She calls him a naive man, saying that he still hasn't noticed it. All of a sudden, her clear net constricts around Vegeta, binding him in an attack that it seems like she's been setting up this whole time. "I can manipulate more than one kind of thread," she says to him. "I set a countless number of those clear threads before the fight started and throughout the fight. You only recognized the visible threads and you didn't even notice the invisible ones," she said. "Of course, those threads are not just threads," she goes on. "They're so durable they can't be cut with incomplete power. I wrapped up your whole body before you even noticed, of course, and you become immobilized. Now, it's punishment time," she goes on. However, Vegeta isn't the least bit worried or afraid. She wonders why he's smirking. I mean, maybe he's frightened. He calls her a fool though, asking that she thinks she's won with something like this. "You make light of me," he says. "You're just acting tough. I'll show you whether or not it's just acting right now," Vegeta says, as he starts to power up again, this time showing a glimpse of what he's actually capable of instead of just toying around with her. Vegeta's power and struggle within the threads goes from laughable to her to alarming as his power sends shockwaves across the battlefield. The smile instantly gets wiped off her face as Vegeta summons incredible strength to not only transform into a Super Saiyan 3, but bursts from the threads with relative ease at the same time. Now, the real battle is starting as Vegeta begins getting slightly serious with this opponent. Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is finally born as she begins backing away in fear, her thread being reduced to mere toys. Too bad. Sorry, but I'm not some half-assed opponent, Vegeta tells her. Playtime's over now. I'm gonna finish you off, he says. He rushes at her with even more insane speed than he showed before and absolutely obliterates her with a flurry of punches, tossing her all over the battlefield and plummeting into rocks below. He sticks his hand out, and this should end it. He launches a final shine attack down at the ground that rips through the demon realm before igniting a massive explosion down below. Vegeta looks down at the remains of the destruction his attack just caused, wondering if the dragon was really that easy to defeat as the smoke begins to subside. Over on planet Kashin, Gohan's opponent finally shows himself, the 7-star dragon, who is probably, as of now, the most threatening looking dragon based off of builds alone, as he demands to be sent back to his original location. I can't do that. You're gonna fight me here, Gohan says. Fight you, the dragon replies. I don't know what your objective is, but if you want to die that badly, I'm happy to oblige. One question before we fight though, Gohan begins. When were you born from the negative energy? The dragon tells him that he was born from the wish to resurrect the Earthlings that were killed during the battle with Omega Shenron, making this dragon the last one created from the last wish that was granted. I swear, Earthlings really are nothing but fools, the dragon says. I can't believe you summoned us again. Well, thanks to that, we were able to get out though. Maybe we are fools for repeating the same mistakes, Gohan comments, but if that responsibility is ours, then we'll surely defeat you with our own fists. We know that's wrong, but we can't sacrifice the people of Earth for that reason. That's why we're taking responsibility by fighting you. The dragon calls him egotistical, but Gohan's done with the small talk. He has to hurry and defeat him because his father's life is at risk. Gohan begins powering up himself, surprising the Shadow Dragon that he has more power to him, and much like Vegeta, begins the battle as a Super Saiyan 2. Now, Gohan's battle finally begins as well as he charges at the dragon, who seems just as excited for this encounter as Gohan, so now it's time to see what he's capable of as well. Back in the Demon Realm, Vegeta assumes that he's defeated the Shadow Dragon, saying that he should look for the Dragon Ball now. However, this is when he feels an extremely sinister negative energy coming from the site that the Shadow Dragon took his final shine attack. She slowly gets up from the ground as Vegeta remarks that he's shocked she's still alive, although she's clearly hurt from everything she just took. However, this is when she says that, if possible, she didn't want to have to use this form, but it seems Vegeta leaves her no choice. He assumes her to be bluffing, obviously, but by the crooked smirk on her face, she might have a trump card. Her power starts to erupt as even Vegeta is taken aback by how much power she was suppressing before, as her entire body becomes engulfed in negative energy. The Shadow Dragon has finally revealed her true form, but even with Super Saiyan 4 and the inevitable Super Saiyan 5 in his back pocket, will Vegeta be able to defeat her and retain enough energy for one final Shadow Dragon? Consider leaving a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you guys in Chapter 11 of Dragon Ball AF.